Today I'm going to give you the full walk around of the Tuggy build. I know we've gone quiet on the channel on this, but it is up and running. We've taken it to the water, and I will save that footage for an upcoming video. But today is going to be for those that are interested in what went into it, what I like about what I did, and what I probably would do differently. So without further ado, let's get into the Tuggy build. So I'm going to do my best to give you a good view of just about every little bit and piece that I've worked on here. We're going to start at the bow, work our way around, and then I'll try to flip it on its side so you can see what's going on underneath it, because that's probably the most complicated part of the whole thing, is making sure that you get that in a reasonable shape. And there's some things that are working out pretty well so far. Starting with the front here, not a whole lot going on. As you can imagine, I've got a hookup here that is switched to the dash. I'll get to that in a second for a bow light. I would like to register this in the state of Texas. I'm gonna have to work through that. I gotta meet with the game warden and make sure that I've got everything, and I think I probably do. It should be good to go for that, so stay tuned for that in the future. And then I added a hookup here. I'll try to show that to you. I added a front tie down or bow eye, whatever you want to call it, because this thing probably needs a trailer. It's a little bit heavy, so I need some way to pull it up and hold it down. So I've got a front tie down. This is just a standard U-bolt that you'd go get from Tractor Supply, Atwoods, or something like that. I did 3D print a backer for it, so it's got some structural support in it, and it's pretty stout, especially as we talk about the foam that's in this thing. It is solid, maybe a little bit too solid. Moving our way across the front here, we have an antenna for the radio. So it is an AM/FM antenna that hooks up to a radio. Probably won't use it a whole ton, but it is aesthetically, it makes it look right. You know, it's got an antenna on it. It's a tugboat. Okay, working our way into the helm of the boat, or the cockpit, whatever you want to call it. I think it's more of a helm. We have a couple of things going on here which make it a little bit more unique than some of the other builds. This is a fully functional steering system. Thingiverse, there's a kit or download for some STL files that you can use. I have a full video of how I installed this, but this is someone else's design. They did a great job on it. I've not really made any tweaks to this one. I have made some 3D printed mounts here for the steering cable itself, both at the helm and on the stern on the motor itself. So pretty much just as it came here. I've not really done any modifications. It's all printed out of ASA. I have broken one set of gears since the kids got a little bit throttle happy with it. I've tried to beef it up a little bit, change the way I printed it, so that's a little bit stronger. We also have our horn. Hopefully you can see it. Also a 3D printed mount. This one's unique because it's got a true cable on it. So the cable runs through the top of the boat here, and it is a fully functioning tug horn, which is cool. It gives it a different look, right? Moving kind of down here, we have our fuse box. I'll give you a little bit better look at it. That's running all of our stuff. It's running our radio, our fish finder, our horn, and then the nav lights. This is our throttle control. So this is a remote throttle to the Hagani motor. You can kind of hear it run there. It is self-returning, which is an important feature, especially when you have little kids, right? I don't want them to hit the throttle. This thing does get up and go, and then something happened, right? That throws them out of the boat, whatever. I wanted to be able to let go and use it. It does have cruise control, so if I hold it, and now it's running. It's got a full cruise control on it. You hit it again, and it shuts off. So that's all built into the Hagani motor as it comes, but I haven't told the kids about that yet, so they don't really know how that works. Here I have a reverse switch, so if I hit that button, it will turn the prop the other way. These are my nav lights. I've got some speakers, and I'll show you an image of the battery kill switch that's down here that kills all the 12-volt electronics on the boat. We have our radio here, and it runs 4 speakers. It is a Amazon special radio. Surprisingly, it survived all of the foam. I had to do my best to print covers and stuff for the speakers themselves so the foam doesn't get in there, and obviously it would lock them up. So that, I'm actually amazed that still works after the foam. I must have just barely got that done. Then we have a Garmin Striker 4CV fish finder that I actually used to have. This is my very first fish finder that I bought for a kayak. And it is running a transducer on the bottom of the boat, as well as it is a GPS enabled, so you can see GPS speed and a little map of where you're at. Kids like that. That's kind of cool. And that's going to serve our purpose up here. We do have 2 cleats, a total of 2 cleats. These are really small cleats. And just kind of, again, more for the look, if anything. If I had to hook it up to a dock or something, it gives me something to grab onto while the boat is floating. Okay, let me take off the battery box. This is just a little wooden battery box. It's nothing special. It's probably maybe a 3/8 thick plywood. So we pop that off. We've got our tie downs. These are just some Amazon like hood tie downs for Jeep kind of thing. And here's obviously the meat and potatoes to the boat. This is our Lead Time battery. Lead Time sponsored this battery for us. They sent it to us, which is awesome. Love working with that group. They make outstanding batteries. And there's really not a better battery that you can put in this boat. It's lightweight. It's 51.2 volt, 30 amp hour, and it will run this motor full speed, kids operating it for a couple of hours. I've not ran it that long, but just doing the math on it, it will last a substantial amount of time, and it's lightweight as well. So love, love, love the battery. We've got the charger that goes with it. It just plugs in up here. It's got a 10 amp charger. Let me walk you through the wiring a little bit. So as you can see, we've got the battery kill switch. That's gonna run everything to our fuse box, and then out from the fuse box to all the components. The throttle control and the cruise control switch come straight through here. We've got two sets of wires that come through. This is my 12 volt power. And then these smaller wires are for my cruise control switch and my throttle control. So those all run through here up the middle of the boat. There really wasn't an easier way to do it. I wanted to make sure that we had access to it if I needed to do something later. Obviously, once you foam it, there's really nothing you can do later. So make sure your wiring is good if you're gonna run wires through the hole before you foam anything. That's gonna be a problem if you don't. Okay, moving along, this is a 48 volt to 12 volt converter. So it's a DC to DC step down. I'll link all this stuff so you can follow it along. And that's gonna take our 51.2 volts, knock it down to 12 volts to run the horn, to run the radio, to run in the lights. So that's all my 12 volt stuff on the boat. That's really the wiring. This is the motor controller. This is the Hagani motor controller that came with it. And that really goes originally in the head of the motor. I've got a video that kind of talks through what I'm doing there. So that's just essentially been relocated and extended, which is nice because it gets a lightweight setup back there, gets everything under this box. You put the cover on, kids sit on this, I can sit on it. Gives you a spot to be, and it kind of covers up the battery. From a weight distribution standpoint, if I did it again, I'd probably shift the weight a little bit more forward. When I get going, it could probably do a little bit better weight distribution wise, but overall, I mean, it's a Sandbox, right? Unless you do substantial hull work, it's not going to be amazing boat, if you will. That's the inside of the boat. Let's move on a little bit further back. Two rod holders that are flush, or not really flush, but they're built into the hull. We have our 30 or 48 volt connector here. So this is running our motor. It's got basically two hot wires and then a ground. In the DC controller, we'll switch those as it's going in forward and reverse. It is a quick disconnect because you're gonna wanna have to, this motor's heavy. So good luck moving it with all that hooked up. So essentially when I bring the boat, when I move it anywhere, I take the battery out and I take the motor off. So that stuff, as I've worked through it, has had to get a little bit more user-friendly in that regard. It is the way this steering, let me get this out of the way. The way this steering is set up is you do the best you can to try to get the full stroke, and you start to run into kinematic challenges a little bit, at least with this particular motor, to get as much steering cut as you need. It has plenty now, but it took me a little bit to get there. This motor's actually going straight right now, and you can see this is offset. So that was super important. I kept wanting to print it straight, and I'd run out of stroke coming this way. And so I had to print it offset to give me more even stroke left and right. This is all 3D printed of my own design. There's actually a hole here that locks it in, and it's not on these bolts, but it's rather there's a pin in here that helps apply the torque to the motor to keep it from shearing off, and that's pretty stout. This is I would call it a quick release, but it's really just a bolt. I need to get a better clip or something, but that lets me pop this rod end out, take the motor off, right? So as I talk through, I gotta be able to take the motor off pretty quickly. The steering and the power obviously need to come off quickly too. These are all unnecessary complications, but if you want the motor to operate with a real helm and not a stick steer and stick throttle, then you're gonna have to deal with stuff like that. So it is a bit more complicated. This is our mount for the steering cable. It locks it in here, and there's some adjustment here. Probably could have made it a little bit bigger, but it is what it is, and it works just fine. I did make it pivot here so I can pull this pin out, and I can get a little bit of angle out of it, because if you try to tilt this up, watch it break now, you have to tilt everything. And so just the whole idea of trying to make the steering work is pretty complicated if you want everything else to happen. So that's what's going on there. It's all, like I said, it's all 3D printed. It now works fine. If I can do it again, I'd probably do things a little bit different. I'd move it over and make it more adjustable, things like that. But you know, it works. At this point, I needed to be done with it, and here we are. The way this ties down to the transom, I probably should have done something a little bit different. This has some draft to it, so it's not purely flat, which makes it a little bit wonky to tighten this motor up on. It would have been a whole lot easier if I just made something that raised it. That's just easier to get more clearance here. But again, I got tired of building this thing, so I must admit, I started short-circuiting a few things to get it done, and it works fine. It's safe, it's all good. And then we have our hookup here for the stern light or the anchor light, whatever you want to call that. We have 2 basically quick cleats here, and this is for an anchor. As you can imagine, if my son's trying to fish off this thing, it's going to get blown everywhere in the wind. It sticks way up out of the water. And we have a tiny, tiny anchor. It's a 5-pound anchor, and it's a legitimate mushroom anchor. And I put these style cleats on it because the kid can operate it. And they're just a zigzag cleat, and it holds it. They don't have to do anything crazy with the knots. They just zigzag it, and it's good to go. So with that, let's move, look at a little bit of action back here on the backpack, and then I'm gonna try to flip it on its side. Actually, we'll talk about the floor too. Before I forget, here's the flooring. This is Amazon EVA foam, and it's okay. It's on a real thin piece of plywood, because from what I found, I tried to JB weld and to 3D printed stuff in the hole, and nothing seems to stick really well to this hole. So I wanted to make sure that the EVA foam had something it would grip to. And as you can imagine, this plywood's moved around a little bit on me. It's a little bit high. You can probably see it talking a little bit there. It's just fine. I could bolt it down a little bit better if I needed to. But again, it's in there. It looks pretty good. And it gives the kids lots of traction. So here I promised to look at the battery disconnect. You can see the radio there, throttle, and then the fish finder's in there. All the way up here is our horn hookup as well. So you can see the pull cable there. All right. Should have raised this thing off the ground a little bit. I'm sitting here kneeling on the garage, but here's the back side of the world here. So you can see our steering hookup. That's where our steering cable is. We also have 2 tie downs back here. Again, there's 3D printed support in here. They are very, very stout. And as long as you don't go crazy on it, right? I'm not gonna tighten up a 1,000-pound ratchet strap on it, but it will hold the weight just fine. And then you can see our motor here. This is our Hagane motor. This is a 48 volt. I think it works out to like 160-pound thrust or something ridiculous. It's not top end speed, but it has a ton of torque. It's like a low speed jet ski, if you will. Like, it's got plenty of power. You can blip it around, and kind of perfect for little kids, or even just cruising around, right? If you were just trying to get out of your own way and have a good time with it, it's a stout motor. It's definitely overkill, but it's plenty stout. And then I'll just kind of show you its operation here. So this is in forward. Oh, I should probably plug it back in. Please hold. Okay, this is in forward. And we'll kick it in reverse. And you really don't need the reverse a whole lot, but I thought that the reverse was nice. You know, you're pulling away from a dock, or you get too close to the shoreline, bump it in reverse, spin the boat around. It's definitely nice to have. Go ahead and do that. Okay, we're now under it, and this is definitely not the prettiest thing I've ever built, but it is functional, and it works for now. So let me walk you through. This is, I'll try to put it on the screen at what thickness this is. This is just regular plywood that has Flex Seal on it, and this is all nutserted on. So I used a kind of a more of an expanding nutsert to go around and tie this thing down to the bottom of the boat. It's fully removable. So if I needed to remove it to try to hog out the foam to get to something, I wanted to make sure this wasn't bonded or something more complicated than it needs to be. It is fully removable. Then I do have these, and these actually work pretty well. So when you have just a flat bottom anything, it's not gonna have any steer head at all. It's just kind of waller around. It's gonna be really difficult to control and steer it. and there's no real need for that. So these are actually gutters. These are vinyl gutters, and they are filled with foam. And what's in here is these are just screwed down with some, I don't know what they're called. They're just like a wood nut that bites into the wood. I'll put a picture of it. I don't know what they're called. I'm not a wood guy, if you haven't figured that out. And then we have our 3D printed kind of pucks back here, and that's working our wheel. So I wanted a wheel so I can kind of drag it around without really, you know, tearing anything up. And it works just fine. It's got a 1/2 inch rod through it with a pin, and seems to hold a little water for some reason, but that's just to help me drag this thing around. And that seems to work just fine. I did not put another layer of foam very intentionally. So a lot of people will do like a 2-inch foam down here, and they're like, oh, you gotta have that to make sure that it stays high enough out of the water. I've been using ChatGPT for some of this stuff, and so what I did is I gave it some dimensions and said, this is the displacement of my hole. It weighs X, and basically what will its water line be at? And then I said, add a piece of 2-inch foam that is of this density to it, then what would my water line be? And it was like, you add that 2 inches of foam, and I think it changed my overall water displacement by like 1/4 of an inch or 3/10 of an inch. And so I just went with it, and it's got no problem. I've had both kids in it, I've rode in it, and yeah, sure, it gets low under full throttle with a 48-volt motor, but I'm not taking on any water. It doesn't seem to be crazy. You can always add it if you wanted to. Again, these are nutserts. I could pull it off, put foam in, and add it later, but I have not needed it right now. So no extra foam. These are foamed, so these help displace a little bit more water for their weight. That seems to be working fine. There are some 3D printed inserts into this, and then there's kind of a skid on the end here. So these are working fine. We'll see how long they live. You can see I haven't even taken off some of the foam here. And then our transducers back here. That pretty much covers the bottom of the boat. Now I want to talk about the foam for a minute and what I did on the inside of the hull. I'll put some B-roll on here of what's in there. There's a little bit of structure in the stern, and I didn't really know how much to anticipate the density of the foam that's in it. Now I went with 6-pound density foam. There's 2-pound and there's 6-pound. So basically your two options. 2-pound foam to me is for just strictly flotation to fill a void. That works fine as long as you add a lot of structure to it. You get one or the other. I didn't want to add a lot of structure to it. I wanted to get the strength from the foam. I went with 6-pound foam, and I needed 2 whole gallon kits of that. That's like way more than I wanted to spend on foam, but that's just how it worked out. I think if you bought a 2-pound kit, you need 1 gallon of part A, 1 gallon of part B. And then the 6-pound density foam obviously doesn't expand as much, it's more dense. And so I needed double that. So this sucker is pretty heavy. I have not put it on a scale since I've got everything loaded up, but it's not light. And, but it's very structurally sound. Like this thing is solid, and it gives me a lot of strength for that motor that's on the back of this thing. So I don't have a bunch of like wood reinforcements in there. It's all on the foam. Now this is where what I would do differently. I would probably try to fill a decent portion of the hull with 2-pound foam and then 6-pound foam. Like be a little smarter about it. Like the hole back here where the stern is, probably go 6-pound, right? Try to pour it on its end, make some dams or something. Fill the majority of this with 2-pound, and maybe you put another 6-pound in the front somewhere to just kind of make it a little bit smarter. I should have done that, but again, it's getting towards the end of the project. I wanted to get it done. Hindsight, I would mix the 2-pound and 6-pound. I would not literally mix them. I would pour some 6-pound, let that set up, then pour some 2-pound, let that set up, and just try to better balance the distribution of foam density throughout the hull to better balance the strength where I need it and get the lightweight flotation where I need it as well, keep it a little bit lighter. Something to keep in mind, this is two gallon kits, 4 bottles of 6-pound flotation foam in this hull, and I used it all. So that's it. Now that we're back on the bottom here, I'm gonna get this thing loaded up, hopefully take it out tomorrow with the kids. I'm gonna leave you with a quick run video as a teaser for the next time when we actually go show you what this thing can do. Thanks for coming along. Make sure you check out all the other videos for this build if you're interested in that. And we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe to the channel. All right. Turn that switch back off. All right, I'm gonna send you off.